The NBA keeps getting more and more talented with each passing season, and that means that some players will take massive steps forward and rise to a star level in 2025-26. In today's video, I'm going to try my best at predicting which of those players will take that leap for this coming season, and hopefully it's a list I can look back on in the summer of 2026 with pride. Hello, my name is Dean Simon, and I love NBA basketball. My passion for the league knows no bounds, and I'll be covering all 30 teams throughout the 2025-26 season, which will begin to ramp up soon. My goal is to reach 500 subscribers by the end of the year, so I'd greatly appreciate it if you could hit that big red button down below, and also leave a like, leave a comment, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on future videos. Alright, so I have 4 players on my list that I see making huge jumps in 2025-26 for their respective teams, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong, but these are guys that I feel like, while I won't say it's a lock, it's as sure or close to a lock that I could possibly predict. First, we're going to touch on Davion Mitchell of the Miami Heat. So Davion, heading into his 5th season in 25-26, he has seemingly found his home with the Heat, even though he only spent a few months with the team after being dealt from the Toronto Raptors in a deal centered around PJ Tucker on February 6th. Davion made himself very comfortable and impressed both Miami's front office and other prospective teams, as he was a restricted free agent this offseason, and he garnered a lot of interest from prospective suitors. In 29 outings with the Heat prior to their demoralizing defeat at the hands of the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round of the playoffs this past year, Mitchell shined on both ends, and he averaged 10.3 points, 5.3 assists, 1.4 steals, and he connected on a wildly impressive 44.7% of his 3.1 looks from three-point range. Sure, the volume could be higher, but it's hard to deny how sensational Davion was when he was introduced to the new system. My big overarching point with Davion Mitchell and the Heat is that Eric Spoelstra specifically talked ad nauseum this offseason about Davion's fit with the team and his future with the organization, and again, it's hard to deny how perfect his fit is within their Heat culture philosophy. It always felt like Mitchell should have been a Heat guy, and that was apparent since he entered the league in 2021 as the former number 9 overall pick in the draft to the Sacramento Kings. Mitchell is obviously an undersized guard at around 6'1", 6'2", but he makes up for his lacking stature with an incredible motor on the defensive end and a really strong center of gravity. Now, I don't mean to stay on Davion for too long, as we do have 3 other guys to get to, but this guy was meant to play in Eric Spoelstra's system. On a separate but also important note, it was awesome to see Davion's immediate improvement as a playmaker during his first short stint with the Heat, as his 5.3 assist figure could foreseeably increase by another small tick thanks to the Heat's trade acquisition of star scoring guard Norman Powell. As for the coming 2025-26 season, there's a real chance that Davion might start alongside first-time All-Star Tyler Hero to act as his backcourt security blanket of sorts as a defender. Think Marcus Smart and Luka Doncic in LA. If Davion can improve upon his 0.8 defensive box plus minus that he accrued with the Heat this past year, while also remaining a solid outside shot maker, he could easily develop into one of the more valued two-way guards in the entire NBA, and one that plenty of teams could look to acquire via trade in the very near future. Next, we're flipping to the Western Conference to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers' Bronny James. And of course, Bronny James has become one of the more polarizing prospects in recent NBA history, but we have never seen a number 55 overall pick be as naturally skilled as Bronny is on both ends of the floor, well, aside from 2025 NBA champ Aaron Wiggins. What Bronny was able to do at the G League level shut up plenty of haters and detractors, but he was also able to burst onto the scene and average 22 points, 5.3 rebounds, and assists, along with 1.9 steals, and he knocked down threes at a great clip on high volume, shooting 38% on 8.4 attempts. Needless to say, Bronny proved a lot of doubters wrong throughout his rookie campaign, and he'll look to do the same thing again, but this time at the NBA level. It was all but confirmed that Bronny will eventually earn a call-up to the NBA at some point this season by the Lakers, as their assistant coach Nate McMillan claimed during a podcast appearance that the Lakers staff, especially JJ Redick, will be looking forward to possibly getting him some minutes this year. Based on just the eye test alone, it was clear to see that even just last year, the only thing holding Bronny James back from an immediate call-up to the league was a confidence issue, and under the bright lights of Crypto.com Arena, he struggled to get any offense going, but that was especially due to the fact that he wasn't given much time to get into a groove in garbage time. That was the only opportunity he got. Even still, he showed incredible promise as a defender, and that's where he can thrive in 2025-26, but also he can eventually aim to build a long NBA career on the back of that one specific skill. Let me reiterate, not every number 55 overall pick walks into the G League, a league that many could refer to as the second or third most talented basketball league in the entire world, and average 22, 5, and 5. Full stop, no matter who your father is. If Bronny can build on his incredible rookie season for the South Bay Lakers, there's no doubt in my mind that he'll carve out a real role for himself with the main NBA franchise in 2025-26. All right, now we're going to flip back to the Eastern Conference to touch on the Milwaukee Bucks' Gary Trent Jr. So, Gary Trent Jr. is an interesting name to see on a list like this at 26 years old, sure, but if his short postseason stint with the Bucks this year proved anything, it's that he's ready for more offensive responsibility. The Bucks fell to the Pacers in round 1 after a very short 5-game series, but Gary Trent Jr. prevented a sweep and nearly pushed the series to 6 games as the clear-cut second best player on the floor next to Giannis. Trent put up a combined 70 points in games 3 and 5 of the series and hit a combined 16 threes on 29 attempts. And mind you, this was against a team that made it all the way to the NBA Finals, went 7 games against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, again, just to point that out. Trent Jr.'s mix of lights out shooting from the 3, valuable on ball scoring prowess, and also respectable defensive effort kept the Bucks in that series somewhat. And I believe that he could lead Milwaukee to an unexpectedly great 2025-26 campaign if he can continue on that upward trajectory. We've seen what Trent Jr. can do when he has more opportunity to put the ball in the basket alone, as he reached highs of 18.3 points as a member of the Toronto Raptors, but now as one of the more relied upon offensive options for a Bucks team with little scoring help around Giannis, it'll likely be Gary Trent Jr. that takes a massive step forward, if not in actual production, then certainly in terms of shot attempts. Gary Trent Jr. proved to be one of the best sharpshooters in the NBA this past year and averaged a solid 11.1 points on 41.6% shooting from deep, but that was next to both Lillard and Antetokounmpo. With the former being let loose this summer, the 26-year-old will have a chance to remind the Bucks that he can handle a fair share of the scoring burden when needed, and in my eyes, he'll certainly see a jump in his counted stats, but whether he's able to score the ball at the same rate efficiency-wise is another story. But still, his history of solid three-point shooting gives me hope that he'll turn heads and finish with a fantastic season, and ultimately he'll become one of the best bargain deals in the NBA because the Bucks re-signed him to a very team-friendly 2-year, $7.5 million deal this summer, and again, it could prove to be one of the best in the NBA if he can produce at a high level. So now we're going to stay in the Eastern Conference to talk about a guy that was having a breakout year this past year, but unfortunately got it cut short with injuries, and that's Jaden Ivey of the Detroit Pistons. So Jaden Ivey could be looked at as one of the more obvious names on this list, but there is actually risk associated with this pick outside of the injury concerns. Of course, Ivey was lighting things up for the Detroit Pistons through the first 3 months of the season, but he ended up breaking the fibula in his left leg during a game on the first day of the 2025 calendar year against the Magic. He only got to appear in 30 games of what was originally thought to be that breakout year in 24-25, as he contributed career bests of 17.6 points, 4.1 rebounds, and zero point 0.9 steals, along with 4 assists and a spectacular 40.9% shooting percentage from the three-point line. Ivey had really appeared to have taken plenty of steps towards meaningful progress last year, including his ability to remain patient when the time called for it and really being able to control his body more with regard to his attempts at the rim. We know that he's an uber athletic guard and that his main forte is getting to the rim on fast breaks and in transition and finishing creatively at the rim, but he was very composed and poised in terms of finishing those shots at a higher clip. The boost in three-point shooting was just a plus, and it's still a question mark whether or not he'll actually remain a north of 40% three-point shooter coming off of that injury, but we'll see. While I do believe that Jaden Ivey will basically pick up right where he left off to begin the new season, there are reasons to believe that he might not sustain the same level of play for an entire year if you take a closer look at the actual month-to-month performance this past year. Through the first 5 games of the season in October, Ivey truly broke out by averaging 21.2 points and hitting almost 43% of his chances from 3, but November saw a drop to a figure near where his end-of-season numbers landed at 17.6 points, but he only shot 36.7% from 3. In December, Ivey's scoring production once again fell to about 14.9 points, though he did raise the shooting percentage from 3 back up to 41.5, leading up to the injury on January 1st. Evidently, Ivey was already on the way down before the injury, but the fact that 6th Man of the Year runner-up Malik Beasley likely won't return to the Pistons next year after his involvement in the federal gambling investigation this summer, it could mean that Ivey has to take on even more of a responsibility as a scorer and accurate distance shooter because they're going to be missing it. Also, his production on the defensive end throughout the season bodes well for 2025-26, and he might not be an overwhelmingly net positive stalwart on that end just yet, but he did take a massive leap in both defensive rating per 100 possessions and also defensive box plus minus. Both of those figures mean a decent amount. If he manages to retain even 80% of his natural athletic ability and maintain his great three-point shooting, he could be a fantastic number 2 on a Pistons team that could sneakily be built for a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, but time will tell. And there you have it. Those are my picks, my 4 guys that will break out in 2025-26. I am extremely confident in all of these guys, and it would really surprise me if any one of them didn't break out, but those are my guys, those are my picks, and I'm sticking by them. All right, now let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think Jaden Ivey will have that great comeback year and lead the Pistons to a favorable spot in the playoffs? What about Bronny James? Does he actually crack the rotation for the Lakers? I guess we'll see in the near future. Anyways, leave that like, leave that comment, press the big red subscribe button down below. It's still trying to get to 500 before the end of the year. So if you could do that, I would really appreciate it. Also, turn on post notifications so you don't miss future episodes. All right, I will see you guys in the next one.